what is your biggest takeaways from the Niners-Bears last night?
Rolling. I'm talking about rolling, Kenzie. Coach talking about Brock Purdy. I'm talking about Coach, man.
Yeah.
That's my biggest takeaway. And Shanahan, man, I think he's proven that he is still the GOAT now. Ben Johnson, Sean McVay, them three really running the offensive world in football right now. But I think after the last 2 weeks, man, Kyle is proving that he's still the GOAT, man. He's so creative with this offense. He got this new little motion that he's doing. He bringing this guy in this little bubble type of motion. Sometimes they stand outside with the runs with that motion. Sometimes they cutting back with the runs with that motion, man. It's crazy, man. They running split zones, counters off that motion. His screen game is crazy. Man, his play actions off that same motion, off the same looks is crazy. Man, he got 1,000 ways to get Christian McCaffrey to football, man. At one point, they brought a DB down. Gardner Johnson ended up trying to guard him because he routing all the linebackers up. He run play action this way, fake a screen this way, throw him a screen this way. So, man, it's just crazy, man. 500 yards of offense, 5 for 5 in the red zone. Man, you got your star tight end out, your star left tackle out, no star receiver, and you still find a way to drop 40 back-to-back weeks, man. So, hey, that's my biggest take from yesterday. Kyle Shanahan, still the GOAT, man. He's the hottest one doing this.
But Ben Johnson also brounced him up yesterday.
They both doing their thing.
He is, but Kyle Shanahan, man, he's been doing it for 6-7 years straight, and I feel like he's just proven that he's still that guy.
Totally.
Yeah, no, I agree totally. But my takeaway is the performance from Purdy. Like, Purdy has proven he's him. Out of all these quarterbacks that we have tried to crown this season, in those moments, they haven't all been successful. And Purdy, the last 4 weeks especially limiting the turnovers and what he did going for touchdowns, right? We talk about field goals and touchdowns, the difference in wins and losses. And when they needed those touchdowns, he dared Caleb Williams to go down and match him for touchdowns. And Caleb couldn't do it. And he took a page out of Caleb's playbook on that last scramble for the touchdown that he found in the red zone.
Yeah.
It was magic. He was a magician. And then he dug it off to the side. He got the swag, the confidence there. You match him and Cal together. Man, they going to be deadly going into these playoffs, man, and they're going to win the NFC. The NFC, I feel, just what they're doing right now, Cal, and what he's cooking up in them playbooks, and Purdy executing it to a T. Like Lee said, they didn't have Kittle, his main target, his favorite target.
Yeah.
They didn't have no protection in their left tackle with Williams out.
He was
but
out.
He still finds way. Jawan Jennings, dark horse. When plays need to be made when no one else is there to make them, he makes those plays.
He does.
And then you can't count, CMC, he's a jack of all trades. He does whatever you need him to do. Man, the Niners are dangerous, but Brock Purdy, he got the reins to that chariot, man, and they going a long way.
Yeah, to your point, too, 49ers 5 for 5 in the red zone. The Bears were 1 for 3. That's a difference, man. That's a big difference. I am right on board with both of you guys. I have a couple takeaways. The first, I'm with you, Akib, but I'm giving credit to both of these coaches. Ben Johnson and Kyle Shanahan are two of the best head coaches, but also two of the best play callers in the entire NFL. Their creativity, both pre-snap and post-snap, is unbelievable. They do a great job of using these pre-snap shifts and motions, and they use them with a purpose. It's not just window dressing. They want to dictate what you're doing on defense. They want to use this motion to get you into a coverage that they want, and then they're going to attack that coverage. Then they want you to try to shift and make different checks and changes while we're motioning, and then they snap the ball before you can get set and before you're ready. They also do a great job, too, of showing you the same play multiple times, like Akiba talked about. That motion they do with Kyle Juszczyk, how they keep doing the bubble motion and they run so many different plays off of it. He'll show you the same thing over and over and run 6, 7, 8, 9 different plays off of it, and you're constantly guessing. They're also very creative, too, with not only the pass game and the route concepts, which is easy as a play caller. You can get some different crossing routes, some over routes, different things like that. But their creativity in the run game is unbelievable. The ways that they can create these holes for their running backs is big time. It's great to see. Second thing, the quarterback play. Both Caleb Williams and Brock Purdy right now, they are proving that they are legit legit top quarterbacks in the NFL. Brock Purdy, since he's come back from an injury, has been lights out. The last 4 games, 15 total touchdowns, 2 interceptions. We know he can throw it. We know he can do these different things, but there's been this narrative around Brock Purdy that he is a product of Kyle Shanahan's offense. He put that to bed, and then some. I mean, the way that he's been able to move around in the pocket, create outside of the pocket, the extra element too is now in those zone read plays, Skip, where they're having the backside defensive end left unblocked, and he can read him, which now allows your defensive or your offensive tackle to work up to the second level. He can pull it, take off, and run and score. Those are big-time things. And then Caleb Williams. We sat on this couch on October 14th, and we were asked if Caleb Williams is an answer for the Chicago Bears. And I said he absolutely is. And this was after a Monday night game against the Commanders, and they were only 3-2 at the time, and he wasn't playing great, but I just saw flashes of what he can do with Ben Johnson. We're really starting to see it come to truth right now, too, and it's just been great to see.
So let me start by saying, what a great game that was to watch last night.
Gosh, so fun.
What a great weekend it was for the National Football League. And let me echo what Chris Collinsworth said at the end of the game last night. He said he'd never been more intrigued going into a playoff run than he has for this year. And I've been doing this for a long time, and I have never been more intrigued, even though we don't have the Chiefs. We don't have the Lions, who some people on this show picked to make it all the way to the Super Bowl. We don't have my Cowboys. We don't have the Commanders that a lot of people thought were going to go places this year. And yet, it's just all-time greatest on the build-up to all the games we're about to talk about, because we got 4 deciders coming up, like do-or-die type games. And my biggest takeaway off last night was that, weirdly, I was even more impressed with the Chicago Bears last night in a loss than I have been in any of their wins this year, because you want to talk about big time. Listen, Caleb's a star now, to your point. He's just a flat-out star. He throws for 330, and very quietly, the Bears won the second half. They won it 17-14. They almost had 300 yards of offense in the second half. They held San Francisco to 166 yards in the second half, and it was very nearly good enough to win the football game if Caleb had made one last play. And it almost mirrored the game that we're going to talk about in a few minutes that came just before this. It was almost a repeat of Eagles at Bills, because it comes down to, slowly but surely, Chicago just took the game over in the second half. The 49ers are hanging on for dear life, and it comes down to one play. Josh Allen didn't make it, and Caleb didn't make it, or we're having a completely different conversation. And I really believed when the ball was snapped that Caleb Williams had arrived and he was about to make a play. I just thought he'd pull it off, and he looked quickly, and there was nothing, and he looked again, and there was nothing, and then he retreated, and yet he threw for 330 at San Francisco. I mean, that's, and here's what got me. He got sacked 0 times last night. Remember, last year, without Ben Johnson, Caleb led the league in getting sacked. He had 68 sacks last year. That was 36 more than C.J. Stroud in second place in getting sacked. And last night, 0. And for the year, he's only been sacked 23 times. Guess who should get the credit for that? The new head coach or the new coordinator, right? So Caleb's a star. But to your point about Brock Purdy, very quietly, kind of off radar, because he only played, 9 games? He missed 8 and played 9? If he qualified for QBR, he'd be just a tick off Drake May at the top of the list. But he doesn't quite qualify because he just didn't play enough games. So in the end, this was a great football team. And I'm going to echo what Aqib said. Listen, to me, Kyle Shanahan's the coach of the year. I don't care what you say, because on degree of difficulty, if you lose Fred Warner and you lose Nick Bosa, and Ayuk, I don't know what happened to him. He had a knee, and he's got issues, and he's got contractual, and he was gone for the whole year. Well, he's your best receiver, right?
Ricky Pearsall's been in and out of injury.
In and out. And you keep plugging in guys I've never heard of on defense. And Solid deserves credit also. But they have a culture of next man up that's the best in the league to me.
For years.
For years. It's just next man up. And the next guy, you say, where'd they find that guy? He's really good. John Lynch deserves a lot of credit for this. But they are a quiet force. They have come out of nowhere, and now they get a home game for home field playoff advantage.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
God.
Remember when we were sitting here talking about the Carolina game?
Yeah.
And Purdy threw those 3 picks?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ever since then, he must have heard you, Cody. He been snapping.
He's been snapping.
He's been snapping. Remember
But
you
what
talking
I
about
said,
that
that
dig
was the
route.
game
You
off
was
of the
on
toe
before
and
he
through.
said,
No, I
he
just
should
didn't
have
like- you're
saw
talking about
that
the J.C.
dig
Horn
route.
pick?
Yeah, the J.C.
I just didn't like the
Horn.
play design.
He
That
was
was-
on you. He said, okay, I heard
Okay,
that, Cody.
but what have we seen in the past from Brock Purdy? Every game, every big game, you could count that there'd be 2 or 3 times when he'd make an insane decision where you'd say, "What are you doing, man? That's just craziness."
Yeah.
And Kyle would be over there throwing his hands up.
He hasn't been doing that.
He doesn't do it anymore.
Which is
it's
the difference.
clean, man.
Yes.
Growing up.
It's just complete. I think he did. I
Even
think
the
he grew up
pick
up.
six last night, that was just a hell of a play by the corner, jumping the ball
Well,
and
first
trying to
play
get
of
it
the
to.
game.
Yeah, it was just a tip ball. That was
Tip
Jalen
ball.
Johnson ran the route for Juwan.
did.
He
He
just
jumped
ran the
that
route,
slant.
and it wasn't a bad throw. It was actually
No.
on the dot,
Yeah.
except Jalen got his hand in
Yeah, he got there first.
Okay, and that's the only mistake that he made.
To your point, though, Skip, with that next man up mentality, you're 100% right. That's head coach. That's culture. That's where
yeah.
the standard is the
Yeah.
standard regardless of who's in there. It's okay if Trent Williams goes out. It's okay if George Kittle's not playing.
God.
You don't want it to happen, but Bosa and Warner, it's okay if those guys are out. We're not going to panic. I put in place a foundation and a culture that's a winning culture, and the young guys have learned that and have sat and have learned and are waiting for their opportunity, and when they get their chance, they go make the most of it.
It's just fun. It's fun that I woke up and everybody's like talking that they're fearing the Niners offense, and I'm thinking this is a quarterback that is nobody's ever considered as a top 10 quarterback. Our receivers are Sky Moore.
Yeah.
Ricky Pearsall's in and out. We got Kendrick Bourne, who was undrafted
Yeah,
free agent,
that's
then released from the New England
Yeah,
Patriots,
good
and
point.
they're shining their stars. We don't have any really good
No.
receivers, and you're fearing our offense right now.
And
That's
Tonjes, the
dope.
tight end, steps in last
Yeah.
night. out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
Tonjes.
I mean, that jersey you're wearing right there, though,
I know.
is an X
The
factor.
guys you mentioned,
But the
I mean,
receiver,
they
you
just play with a
can't
chip
sleep
on
on Brock
their
Purdy and those
I
receivers
agree.
Because
right
they
now.
have been. Sky Moore, he was a second-round draft pick
He
in
was,
Kansas City.
like
They
you.
released him.
Yeah.
Bourne, he was a starter in New England.
He was.
You know, they released him, so he
Yep.
has a chip on his shoulder. Jennings, we talk about Ayuk. When Ayuk got paid, Jennings was having a better season.
Yeah.
So he
Well,
has a
Jennings
chip
only
on
got
his shoulder.
3 or 4
So,
targets last
you know,
year.
all these guys.
All these
count.
guys, they can throw it to anybody. They're all
And
capable.
Debo's gone. Yeah,
And it's
Debo's
and it's
gone.
only one way. It's only one way you can do that, Kenzie. If you can throw it to anybody, we can run this. We can do this.
Yeah.
You got the right guy cooking it up.
Yeah.
The right guy got to be cooking it up, man. So shout out to Kyle Shanahan, man. He's doing his shit.
100%.
Last thing on that too, and I'm curious your guys' opinion. So on the or not 2-point play, but the final play of the game. I don't know if you guys heard the press conference afterwards, but Caleb and Ben Johnson both admitted that they weren't in the right formation.
Oh, really?
And they didn't have a timeout, so they said they got lined up quickly. They weren't in the right formation. They had the right call, but not the right formation. But they didn't have time.
Whose fault was that? Caleb?
I think it. So this is where it goes back to for me is Ben Johnson took the blame. He said I didn't get the play in time for Caleb to get everybody lined up and then run it. Well, Kyle Shanahan also playing chess. He ran up and was about to call a timeout like coaches do to see what they're doing, but he said, I noticed that they were rushing, so I didn't call timeout.
Wow.
That is a huge, that's huge by him. But the reason I think they got to that situation, I didn't love this call. As good as Ben Johnson is, I don't know if I was in love with the hook and ladder with 21 seconds left to go. Because it's tough when you run the hook and then you give the ladder. You're hoping that Swift can get out of bounds, but that corner's already playing outside leverage, so that's tough. So instead of getting maybe 2 to 3 plays, now you have to run up and clock it with 4 seconds left. You only get 1. I would just like maybe a shot at the end zone there, or 3 or 4 shots at the end zone, or a shot to the sideline, get a couple of yards, and then get your best play. But that hook and ladder, as creative as it was, I don't know if that was the right timing with no timeouts left, because then you lose the opportunity to run at least 2 more plays.
Hey, but you have Swift full speed on Lenore, who's really good, who never gets tested, but he had to come up and make a tackle.
He did.
And he made a tackle.
He can tackle.
He can tackle.
He's
Yeah.
a physical
He is.
nickel originally,
Yeah.
and now he's starting on the outside. But I think we just saw the hook and ladder earlier
We
in the
did.
day.
Yeah.
So
With
you
the
can't
Bills.
tell me those guys weren't watching that game earlier.
No, I agree. But
So
I'm saying,
it's that experience factor, man.
Yeah, you know something coming.
It's Ben Johnson and Caleb. They in these big games where Purdy and Kyle, they've been in these big games.
Yeah.
So Purdy and Kyle, they gonna get lined up and they gonna run the right plays.
Yeah.
They gonna the clock right, and they gonna get 3 shots at the end zone. Where Ben Johnson, he ain't new to calling plays, but he's new to being the head coach. And
Yep.
Yeah.
Caleb is new to this situation. I'm telling you, man, that experience is gonna take you a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. So that's why quarterbacks wear wristbands to try to get the formation right with the play call?
So the wristbands really are
Yep.
for longer play calls or certain situations. Now, obviously, when it comes to the base game plan, you've memorized those, so the coach will tell you the play call. I'll read it off to you. But if we have a long-ass play call, I'd always say put on the wristband or situational, like with Shador, when he had the backed up situation, didn't have the sheet in his wristband. That was for backed up. That's for some of these different situations, these unique situations you get in throughout the game. But no, the wristbands are only for long plays and situational football.
Yeah. Do you think it wrecked the play without the right formation?
Absolutely. So I don't know exactly what was wrong, but it sounded like what Caleb said was maybe the offensive line wasn't set or in the right position, or they didn't have the right protection up front, and then guys weren't in the right spot on the outside as well. So everything was off from the start, and he just had to improvise and try to make a play.
Yeah.
But either way, like Akeem said, it's just situational football that you haven't been a part of yet. And Ben Johnson and Caleb will learn from that. But also credit to Kyle Shanahan, recognizing being an offensive guy that they were kind of in panic mode. Let's not call a timeout and let them get set. Let's make them run their play, and we're going to let our defense go win it.
All right, guys. Well, listen, the NFC now is completely up for grabs.
Yep.
So this Saturday, we host the Seattle Seahawks. This is going to determine the 1 seed for the NFC. And I'm hearing some little rumors up in San Francisco that if we clinch the 1 seed, get the bye, Fred Warner is going to be back for the playoffs, which could be a game changer for going all the way. So, Keeb, who wins the 1 seed in the NFC?
I got to go with the Niners, man. They already beat Seattle in Seattle. They get to look at them at home while they absolutely rolling right now. And this team is just flying under the radar, man. They got wins against 4 out of the 6 playoff teams, man. They done beat the Rams. They done beat the Bears. They done beat the Seahawks. They done beat the Panthers. You know what I'm saying? So only team they haven't beat is the Eagles in Green Bay. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. It's that experience. I talked about that experience. That they've been in the show. They've been in the Super Bowl or the conference championship game 4 out of the last 6 years. That take you a long way. To me, that just, if you towing that edge, you just always in all these big games. Y'all know how much I love the playoffs. If you get that much big game experience, it's gonna pay off sooner or later, man. So I don't know. I like them to win the 1 seed. Shit, I might like them to go to the chip. You know what I'm saying? I honestly might pick them to go to the chip. I don't think I'm going to pick against the Niners in any playoff game this season.
Wow. Cody?
I think you guys know where I'm going with this
I know where you're going.
I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks. I think the Seahawks, the main reason is, though, Skip, and you've talked about this, it's a road game. And normally that would be a disadvantage for a team, but under Mike McDonald, they're 14-2 in the last 2 seasons on the road. They travel well, they play well, and this isn't a cross-country game. They're staying on the West Coast, so they're staying local. So I think that's the first reason they get to win.
Like an hour.
The second reason is, as good as the Bears' defense has been at takeaways, they've given up a lot of yards, and we saw that last night. Seattle has a really good defense, and I think they're going to give some more trouble to the Niners in this game. They ended up losing in week 1, but they only gave up 17 points. So I trust this defense, which is second in scoring defense, to play better in this game. And then the final reason is I think Sam Darnold gets the job done. We saw him get a huge win a couple weeks ago against the Rams, and he overcame that narrative. Skip calling him Sam Darnold, not being able to win in these big-time games. That gives him confidence going into this one. And look, this is almost like a carbon copy from last year. Remember, they played Detroit to get the number 1 seed, and if they didn't, they ended up losing and having to go on the road and playing the Rams. He gets another opportunity. This is his redemption shot to get the number 1 seed instead of having to play a wild card game week 1 of the playoffs. So I think he gets it done because of the experience and the confidence.
And he is your boy from USC, right?
I just like him, Skip.
I think there's a little bias going on.
Yeah.
Hey, I believe him. I said the defense too. I like the defense. Mike McDonald, there's some other stuff going on.
Yeah.
I can't deny the defense. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But that's all you got. And you got Jason.
They've given up a lot of points and a lot of yards we've seen against the Rams, and this is a playoff game. And this, if you ask me, it's about who do I trust more in this moment, Sam Darnold or Brock Purdy. And I trust Purdy more, especially at home. I trust Purdy more to get it done, and most importantly, in big games like this, don't turn the ball over. Like we talked about, in the last 4 games, Purdy has 2 turnovers, 2 picks. In the last 2 games, Sam Darnold has 4 picks. And if you give Purdy and CMC and Kyle Shanahan those extra opportunities to put points on the board, guess what they're going to do? they're going to put 7 up. There ain't going to be no field goals like the Rams did, and you sneak out of that with a win. It's going to be touchdowns, and they're going to win. And like the experience that Lee was talking about earlier, these big game moments, the 49ers are just more experienced in these big game moments. And especially at home, they have the advantage. I know how you just mentioned 14-2 on the road, but this is a divisional game. It's different. I feel it's completely different. And I have to give that to the Niners at home with that, that combo of Shanahan and Purdy again. CMC being the third head of that monster. Man, I got the Niners. The Niners.
Let's go.
Cody and I are twins today. We're dressed alike, so
We are.
You are actually the same exact
Hey, we didn't
outfit.
plan that either.
we didn't plan it. So Kinsey, you're not going to like this, but I have come around. I have seen the light, and I'm going with Sam Darnold.
Let's go.
No, he ain't
That's
gonna be
actually
saying no.
shocking. I'm
And I'll
shocked.
tell you
Can't
why.
call him Sam when you're going with
insane.
us.
Hey, you know what's insane? Is that stat you brought up. Now, the Seattle Seahawks have won 13 of their last 14 on the freaking road.
On the
13
road,
of 14,
Skip.
and the only one of those games they lost was at Rams because a 60-yard field goal at the buzzer was about a foot short.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And it was 21-19, or they would have won 14 in a row on the road. And I just checked this. They're number 2 in points allowed, the Seahawks, and they're number 2 in points scored. Well, what's not to love about that? I don't love Sam Darnold. And I will remind everybody, in the opening game at Seattle, that San Francisco wound up winning 13-7. Do you remember what happened at the end of the game? The Seahawks get it 1st and 5 at the 9-yard line, at the 49ers' 9-yard line with a minute to go.
Yep.
1st and 5 at the 9. So you got to score a touchdown, but you're in position. You're at home where they're supposed to be invincible, and they're no longer invincible at home.
Kind of flipped the script on that.
They flipped the script on this. But guess what happened? Sam Darnold got strip sacked by guess who? Nick Bosa. Who's no longer there, and he will not come back for the playoffs because he's gone for the year. But Nick Bosa strip sacked Sam Darnold, and there he was again, and he lost the game. That was the difference. Well, I just think he's kind of grown up before our very eyes, and at least he's not screwing up at the end of games the way he used to. I agree with you.
But he is, though.
Okay, I understand, but if you just pin it down in a vacuum and you say, do you want Brock Purdy or Sam Darnold? I'm saying, well, give me Brock Purdy. But on team, on momentum on the road, it just screams that you should go with Seattle in this game. And remember, San Francisco, there's one big shocking difference to Kyle Shanahan's offense this year. They don't run it the way they used to run it. They used to just run it down your throat with a legion of backs. They come in with 5 different backs, and they just keep running and running down your throat. They're 22nd in rushing in the NFL this year because C-Mac, as great as he is, he hasn't been pounding it between the tackles like Kyle likes to pound it. So they're more of a Brock Purdy throw it down the field team than they are a run the ball. Now, Christian was great last night because he had 181 total yards.
Yeah,
they had
that
140.
goes to their rushing. That's that.
200 rushing last night.
Yeah, they had 200 as a team rushing, but Seattle is really good against the run. I just think, man, on paper it just screams that this is Seattle's turn.
You know what Seattle's not good at? In space.
Yeah.
They're not very good in space, and that's what Shanahan's going to take advantage of.
All right.
He's going to get them formations going. He's going to find ways to get CMC in space against them linebackers.
Okay.
And they definitely don't tackle very well. So I think that's why the advantage goes to the Niners as well, Skip.
Okay, except that I just watched the Chicago Bears, who I didn't think were explosive on offense, run up 440 yards on San Francisco's defense.
I mean, they've averaged like
I don't
27
think
points a
that-
game. I think they're averaging 27 points a game coming into this game. That's pretty explosive on offense.
Okay.
Very explosive on offense.
No, they are. But to that point, that's the other thing is you mentioned that you said Seattle gives up a lot of yards. They give up a lot of points to the Rams, which they did a couple games this year. But other than that, they've been very solid. But the 49ers, although Saleh has been doing a good job, they're 19th in total offense, but they're also dead last in sacks. They don't get any pressure on the quarterback.
We're also not turning the ball over.
Which is true, but to frustrate a quarterback, you got to get pressure. They're dead last. They only have 18 sacks. the entire year.
Yeah.
That's going to allow Darnold to get comfortable even on the road, go through progression, find JSN, find Cup, find some of these tight ends, and then run the football.
But I like how they're rushing, and that's why they won on that last play versus the Bears. It was contained rush. We're not rushing to get sacks. We're rushing to keep these quarterbacks contained and in the pocket. And that's exactly what happened on that last play with Caleb Williams. He was like, oh, I can't run out and make a play. I got to retreat. And that end was standing right there waiting for him, like, come on, come this way. I'm going to be right here waiting for you so you don't get outside this pocket. And he threw an errant ball.
Well,
game over.
The arena is completely split, okay? Well, actually, no. We got 3 of us, Niners, so, and the people are giving 65% to the Niners winning the NFC for the 1 seed. So I love you guys. Thanks for the support. Thank you, TJ, for the support. Now we're going to support Shedeur Sanders with your Browns jacket.